When it comes to planning for your future, you want someone you can trust. At Prairie State Investments, Mark Pfeiffer is here to help you build a plan that fits your life, your family, and your goals. Whether it's retirement, college savings, or investing wisely for tomorrow, Mark has the knowledge and local commitment to guide you every step of the way. Don't leave your future up to chance. Call Mark Pfeiffer at Prairie State Investments today at 815-668-8131 and start investing with confidence.
Ready to outfit your team or gear up for the season? Get trusted service, custom designs, and hometown commitment from Breedlove Sporting Goods, serving Kewanee and the surrounding communities since 1949. From quality athletic equipment, team uniforms, screen printing, and embroidery to trophies and awards, Breedlove's has what you need to compete with confidence. Whether you're a coach, an athlete, or a supporter of local sports, they've got you covered. Call them today at 309-852-2434 to outfit your squad, customize your gear, or plan your next fundraiser. That's 309-852-2434. Breedlove Sporting Goods. Support local champions and get ready to play hard and finish strong. Welcome to NUIC All Access, joined by Jay Doyle and Joe Murdian. I'm your host, Kyle Kampmeyer. Today, we feature the regional championship teams from Galena and Eastland. Jay, introduce our guest to us today.
All right, Kyle, today's guests are Galena head coach Jamie Watson, along with senior all-conference player Leah Heller, along with Eastland head coach Nicole Brinker, with all-conference players Tatum Grimm and Morgan McCullough. Here's what the Galena program has accomplished. Won 6 straight regional championship, has won 12 of the last 14 games, the 2022 state runner-up, the 2023 third-place state runner-up, and here's what the Eastland program has accomplished. Has won the conference title, has won 8 of their last 12 games, 2020 state champion, 2019 state runner-up.
So, congratulations on winning your regional championships.
Thank you.
Jamie, we're going to start with you. You guys had a rough start to the season, which I saw that you made mention in a post or something earlier this week. But you guys were 5-14 at one time. To go to winning 12 of your last 14, what changed here?
Well, my guest joining me today is a big part of it. Leah missed the volleyball season, hurt her ankle this summer, had surgery in September, and I think the first night she played was actually at Eastland at the very end of December. I think she was on a pitch count there for a while. I think she played maybe 10 to 12 minutes, and we went way back in. Her leadership outside of just her ability on the court was so hugely important for us. She's been a starter in our program since day one when she walked in the door, and she's played in a ton of big games, played in a super sectional as a freshman. So, getting her back and getting her acclimated was number one, of course. A month ago, January 19th, we were 5-14 of the Byron tournament. And we played Lake Forest Academy on that Monday, the last game of the tournament. And I think that was really the turnaround of our season. They were a good team. They're big and physical. And we played really, really well that day. And we were able to get out of there with a win. Even though we finished 1-2 in that tournament, the feeling coming out of there was so different than it could have been. We played Byron the first game on that Saturday, and they took it to us like they've done to a lot of people this year. And then we played a good game against Riverdale. It was another very good team, and they ended up beating us. But coming back on that Monday, I think if we would have laid an egg, it would have been tough to rebound from that. But we played really, really well. We played a great game. We were able to come out of there with a win. The vibe was so different leaving that tournament that weekend. And credit to our players. We can only preach for so long to stay the course and stay confident. And to their credit, they really did. And they kind of took that to heart, and they continued to work and continued to get better and continued to listen to us constantly in their ear about it, and didn't turn a blind eye to it. So, so credit to our players for sure.
That's one of the things we'll talk about a little bit later. But one of the things I said when we talked about regionals coming up and that, but how does the success that your players have had the last couple years and the position that they've been in make that a little bit easier to change from when you have a rough start to the end of the season to know what they got to bring to the table to win at the regional time?
Yeah, I think that can go one of two ways, really. I mean, they're used to being successful, whether it's in our program or in the volleyball program. They are used to winning. And when you're not winning, that can go one of two ways. It can, somebody can shut down and say, this is not going to happen. I can't believe this is happening. Or they can stay the course. And they did. And I think sustained success is so difficult to do, but it is a mindset and it is a mentality that hey, this is what we do. This is where we should be, and this is what it takes to get there. And that, of course, is modeled by the players of the past and our coaching staff, and that's a huge part of it.
And now on that to you, Coach Brinker, you guys were sitting at 16-1. And then here in February, you played a lot of tight games. Now, a lot of that, if for those that probably lived under a rock, knew that Trixie got hurt and you guys had to find different ways to win, but you guys still were successful. What did it take for the group that you had to sustain that after that injury and still be competitive and win the regional?
All the credit goes to the girls. Very easily could have folded when Trixie went down. I mean, we went from playing the number one team in the state on Saturday, and we came back on Monday, and we had a couple different things going on, and so we were very shorthanded. Jay, you obviously know that when we played you guys. And I sent these two a text and just said, hey, we've got some things to overcome this week, and we're going to. Like, there's no choice. And so they put their heads down and got back to work and figured out different ways. I think, Jay, if we would have had one practice, we would have gotten you. Because we didn't have that practice in before. And goes to you, by the way. Great strategy on your part. These guys, again, they came in after that game and, we had to find another way to win 2 days later and just keep moving along. And these guys did it. It was their, I used the word last podcast, resilient. It's their resiliency. And they continue to show it over and over again. There was no woe is me. It was like, okay. And, I think we go back to last year. They had to play without Trixie last year. And so this year it's been different with Trixie in, because in the past, I feel like we've relied on her a lot. And this year we haven't had to rely on her. Everybody has carried their own weight. And so with her going down, somebody else just shouldered a couple more points. And, these guys have really just earned every victory that they've gotten.
Well, that's one of the things I think anybody could see or any coach could see when you lose a player like Trixie who does all that. It's going to take 2, 3, 4 games to get everybody's new role, you could say, to understand what to do. But at the end of the day, at the end of games, they knew what to do. And that's a credit to your staff and the players that you have, because whether it was that the Stockton regional game that we were all watching, that was very tight, to really how the Dakota game started. They could have, like Jamie said, you have 2 ways you're going to go in that game. You're right. Like, you guys missed a ton of easy shots early in that regional championship game but to your guys' credit, the way you guys play and the way your guards play, it's just relentless for 4 quarters and let the dust settle. And both them games, you were able to win the game.
Yeah, and again, going back to last year was not a stellar year for us. It was a very frustrating year. It was a very tiring year, emotionally, mentally. With Morgan going down on top of it last year, it was hard. And as I said last time, they last year figured out a way to get to above 500. And I think that mentality has just helped them this year. And again, they very easily could have said, we're done. And they have just found that mental toughness that we've pushed from them for so long. Because last year, to be honest, we're in those close games and we don't win them. This year, they found a way to get it done.
Leah, let's turn it over to you. Coach kind of already touched on a little bit, but you guys were sitting at 5-14. What was kind of the vibe in the locker room or at practice when you guys were sitting there at 5-14? Were you feeling sorry for yourselves, or just kind of like, we got to keep grinding? Or what was kind of What was kind of going on there with the girls on the team?
I mean, I think just like going into practice every day, everyone had like high hopes. Like we knew that we were going to get better. We just knew that it was going to be like a super long process and we just had to trust each other so much and just keep working hard at practice every day. And like we hold each other accountable at practice, but we also like praise each other for like every good shot, every good make that they have, but also just like pushing each other so much. Like in our drills, 3-on-2, continuous, it gets super competitive and we push each other so much.
Tatum, the last time we had you on, we talked about your guys' losses to Sterling Newman last year, the close game that you had again this year with Sterling Newman, and how much you guys had closed that gap on the Comets. After that loss in January, what do you feel really sharpened with your guys' team and the preparation that you had game to game, practice to practice?
I feel like our defense had gone very well, and I know that with our defense, it just like helps us win those games really, and we just keep working harder and harder each day to get there.
And then to you, Morgan, two really one possession games here in the regional, both coming out victorious. What does that say about you guys and your team and your resiliency? It's early.
I just At the end of the day, we flipped the switch and we just had the desire to win, and we didn't play to not lose, and we just seniors, I think we just really, really wanted that regional. So I think it's just the desire to win.
Yeah, and Coach Brinker made the comment, and it's kind of a shocking thing where some schools, it's second, but that's your guys' first regional, correct? As a group.
In anything.
So congrats to that.
Yes, that's awesome. Congratulations for sure.
All right, so Leah, back to you. You guys have won 12 of your last 14. You're regional champs. What's kind of been the key to that run here the last month of the season?
I think our defense from going to 1-3-1 to trying man and now we're 3-2, not 3-2 zone. It just like our defense have improved so much. And I think that's what's able to get us to win games when we're holding teams to 13 points at halftime. That just like shows like we can beat any team no matter if they're averaging like 50 points a game. It just, yeah, our defense, I think, is really what turned it on for us.
Hey, Jamie, how hard was that? You were always a 1-3-1 guy.
Yeah, it's we know we have grasped at a lot of straws this year. And we started the season playing some 3-2 matchup, which we played probably the first 7 or 8 years that I was doing this. We played a lot of 3-2 matchup, and I love that defense. It just wasn't working. And so we played some 1-3-1. Looked really, really good at times, looked really, really bad at times. So we played some more man, a lot of the same. And just a couple weeks ago, we're like, well, let's try this 3-2 and see what it looks like. I liked our length around the perimeter and our ability to keep people out of the lane with this defense. And I think it's something that we've never been afraid to do, is to change things up throughout the course of the season, or even right at the beginning of the postseason, or whatever it is. I think you always have to be constantly searching for something that's gonna benefit your team and is gonna be the best for your team. Maybe we'll find out on Tuesday that this doesn't work, but we'll have some stuff to fall back on. So I've never been a multiple defense kind of coach, but when things aren't working the way you want them to work, you got to be a multiple defense coach.
So Tatum, you guys started off the season 16-1. There was a lot of excitement around that start. And, when we started to put ratings out there across our social media platforms, there was a lot of Eastland fan base that were a little upset that Eastland wasn't being mentioned in those top 10, 15 teams at the time. How did you guys block out that noise? But most of all, how did you guys avoid from getting tight and continue to push forward through everything?
I think our mindset. We knew we were a good team, and we just made sure not to listen to any of that stuff and just continue to work harder to get better and prove everyone that we can be one of those top teams.
So question first to Morgan and then to you, Leah. In this run and you get to the playoffs and things can get tight, Who on your guys' teams are kind of the funniest in the locker room or keep things the lightest so things don't get too tight?
Probably either me or Tatum, honestly. Yeah, we're pretty funny, I guess.
Leah?
For me, probably Maya McCoy. He is a goofball in the locker room.
So Morgan, between you and Tatum, what do you guys do that is kind of funny without being embarrassing yourself, of course? What do you guys do that keeps the team loose and fun?
Well, we first talk about what we need to do better, which that kind of takes up a long time unless like, it's not. I don't I don't know. We just kind of say random joke. I don't know. Maybe we talk about the other team, just like what our student section might be saying. I don't
I'll tell you what, your student section, those guys, I don't know who leads it, but dressing up as cowboys and whatever else they do, I mean, it's pretty funny. And I tell you what, you go with you guys, especially at home games, having the two sides, and of course they sit down on that east end of the gym. They get pretty raucous down there, man. That's got to be exciting.
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
Leah,
Zy,
what does?
Zy
I'm sorry,
Haberlin,
go ahead.
Zy Haberlin has taken the lead in that a little bit, and he was so excited at one point. He's like, "If our girls are ranked, we're showing up." And so he's a goofball in himself. So shout out to those boys.
I can see Zy getting that from his mom.
She got mad at him the other day because I guess in the Dakota game they were too quiet and Zy wasn't doing any cheers. So she texted him what cheer to do. And then he was like, "Oh, yeah." And then started. And then she got all nervous on the next one and didn't know what to do. So she told them to stomp their claps or hands and clap their feet. And Zy's like, "I don't know what that means."
Oh, Mama Haverland coming through. Love it.
I love her.
Leah, as far as you said Maya. What does Maya do that kind of gives you guys that loose edge or takes that edge off, I should say?
Well, before every game, we listen to music very, very loud. And Jamie knows he comes into the locker room and we're all freaking out when he comes in because we have the music on and Maya knows every word. And that just kind of like just relaxes the tension and all the nerves are gone when we're all just having fun and like singing songs together.
You gotta have that vibe. That's what's great about it all.
Coach Watson, let's get back to you here. You kind of talked about already, you thought the Byron tournament was a turning point in the season. Since that point, has there been another point where you thought to yourself, okay, this team, maybe we can make a run another regional title here? Was there a certain point after that Byron tournament where you really started to get excited or thought this team maybe could do this again?
Yeah, I think there were a couple really. We played Lancaster at our place early in February, and they're a very, very good team. And we had just watched them take care of East Dubuque by 40 plus or whatever it was and drop 82 points on them. And we're thinking, well, we got to play them. And when's that snow coming? And so it was but we played really, really well, and we had a game plan. They play extremely fast, and they're full court trapping. They play a half court trap 1-3-1 zone. They are switching up defenses. They have a crazy long athletic top to their zone, and they feast on turnovers and play fast. And so we wanted to slow that game down as much as possible and kind of play keep away. And if we can keep this game in the 30s or 40s, we'll give ourselves a chance. And so we implemented this game plan and we executed it. And we didn't win the game, but it was 21-19 at halftime. And it was 38-34 near the end of the third quarter, and they ended up pulling away and winning the game. But we played really, really well, and we were able to execute what we wanted to do. And that was something that we hadn't really done much of up to that point, was really execute, not perfectly, but execute a game plan that we were really shooting for. So that was one, and then shortly after that, we played a very good Rockford Lutheran team at our place, and that was another game that a week prior to that they had beat a very good Winnebago team by 10, 61-51. And we had played Winnebago twice in the beginning of the year, and it was ugly. and they're very, very good. And we have a lot of experience with Rockford Lutheran over the course of the last few years. We've played them in the regular season and met up with them a couple years in a row in the postseason. So that was an important one, and we played really, really well that day, and we were able to get the win at home. And that was really kind of the eye opener for, I think, a lot of our kids that, we've talked about confidence, playing with confidence, especially with a young team. But it's hard to stay confident when you're not seeing results. And that was like one of the first days where they were like, "Oh yeah, we can beat anybody." So that was a huge point in our season to be able to pull that off.
I remember when you guys won that Rockford Lutheran game because Jay had messaged me and he's like, holy cow. He goes, Galena really beat Rockford Lutheran?
Sorry, I had to double check. Nothing against it. But that's when I said then after that, I said, they are getting hot now. I said, watch them. They're going to win a regional or something on that term. It just,
He has.
You-
He's been on your guys' boat since that game.
yeah, you can just see in the late big game wins when you see that, you can just see the wave changing, right? And every team has that. You can kind of see that coming. And that was one I did have to double check because it was 36-31. I'm like, they beat him, right? And he's like, yeah, no, I got that one right.
Well, thanks for your confidence, Jay. I appreciate that.
It was less confidence in Kyle sometimes.
But no, I mean, before the playoffs began, as we were starting to put out the projections on what the bracket would look like, and we kept seeing, River Edge, East Dubuque, Galena, and Pearl City all continually get botched together into the same regional layout. Jay's like, Galena's going to come out of that. And then when it came to fruition that was going to be the bracket, I mean, what was it? It was like a week or two ago when it first came out. We stated that was probably going to be the toughest regional behind the Durand regional. We've pegged those two regionals as being the toughest regionals to get out of, and here we are. We got both regional champions out of those two regionals here sitting talking with us today.
Yeah, I mean, a month ago, there's tough to keep everybody on the same page. It's hard I mean, I've never experienced a season like this in 16 years. We're in a tough spot. We were in a tough spot a month ago, and everybody has answers outside of the gym, right? I mean, the bleacher coaches are out in full force, and the outside noise is there, and it's hard. It's hard to keep everybody on the same page and on the same track, and it's so cliche, but it's so true that you want to be playing your best basketball at the end of the season. I was always confident that we would continue to get better. We have had so many different starting lineups this year, and we've had so many young kids playing. We had several games where we started 2 sophomores and 3 freshmen before Leah came back. And so many kids have played a different role on this team. A lot of them had a bigger role prior to the beginning of January when Leah came back. And they had to take a back seat, and they understand it. But that's hard. It's hard on the kids. And it's difficult to maintain confidence and connectivity and unity in those situations. And I give our kids a ton of credit because they all stayed the course and were working toward that ultimate goal and sacrificed a lot of things, a lot of playing time.
Go ahead, Jay.
I was going to say, I'll ask Coach Brinker first and then back to you, Jamie. As a coach, I would say this, and I'd have to go to 1 through 9 because I know how Stockton played you guys, Eastland, over at Durand. But I don't remember a year where there wasn't like, you have that 1 or 2 teams, right? That it's like, they're going to have an off night to win, not to win, right? This was like the one year where you could look 1 through 8, 1 through 9, and anybody could beat anybody. And I think that was the craziest part, and maybe the most frustrating part as coaches, that you knew you were like right there, but you were also not there.
Yeah. The saying is always survive in advance. But usually, you could get in and get one game in where you can get your bearings. And obviously for us this year, it definitely was not the case. Coach Pep had those Stockton girls playing so hard. And they did such a great job. And then, to turn around and play Dakota, obviously we were the 1 seed, but I know that everybody's perception changed after, the seedings came out and we lost Trixie. I know that we were not the favored going in. I didn't let these guys know that, but, I know. And, to go in there and just compete and it is, you had to play every second of those games. And, it's only going to pay off. But again, I go back and we're the NUIC. I mean, that's the cool thing about it. And, they're tough games all the time. And, Jamie's talking about his defense. Tatum's talking about our defense. I mean, that's what you're going to get from the NUIC is they may not be pretty offensive games, but you are going to get the best defensive efforts from teams. And I think that's the coolest basketball. I know a lot of other people want to see the ball go in the basket a lot more, but that grittiness is just unbelievable. And obviously we played 2 other NUIC teams. That's what Galena had to play. And it's just fun basketball to watch and intense and gritty. And you had to show up every second of every game down to the last 0.9 seconds.
You at least got to get
0.9.
you at least got to get out of your conference to see other NUIC opponents. Jamie literally had to go through his entire conference.
Yeah,
That is true. Conference tournament.
that's tough too. It's there are no secrets, going into those games, and it's they know you as well as you know them, and it's those games can definitely go either way.
But I like what you said, Nicole. The NUIC defensive games are going to win you. Yes, you have to have the offensive scoring. But when that scoring starts to get tough because of the defensive pressure, the team that can win the defensive side of the ball is going to come out on top. And I agree with you. I like defensive basketball, but I like that in any sport. Like, people always complain about low-scoring games in football. I love them. That means your defenses are doing something, right? And, the same goes with baseball. Of course, baseball can get a little boring if you don't see a lot of scoring going on. But at the same time, you got to look within that game to see how that's actually transpiring. Whereas with basketball, man, it is fun to watch a good defensive battle. All right, Brinker, when did you know this team could handle these late game moments? You opened up the season with a 39-36 win over River Ridge, so it kind of started right out of the gates. But then you had some games go there where, like I said, you guys got off to a big run there, 16-1 start. But here down the stretch especially, you guys had a lot of tight, close games. When did you have the confidence in your team to win that?
I mean, it really did go back toward the beginning of the season, and it was in weird spots that you wouldn't think. Games that we ended up winning maybe by 10 or 12. There were pivotal moments where it was tight, and, in the past, we wouldn't have figured out a way to win, and the kids figured it out. They had way more composure this year. And so, you go to that first game against River Ridge Gales Mound, they did a phenomenal job. And then even at the Forston tournament, obviously, there's great competition there, and we figured out ways to, I thought going into that tournament, if we came out of that 3-2, that's a good one, and we came out 4-1. Those are just all good things that really kind of pushed us to continue to get better. And I think the more that we won some of those close games, and again, even if they ended up being 10 points, it was close at some point in time, and to be able to extend that lead, that gave these guys the confidence to continue to do that. And so when we did get into the close games, they have executed way better than they did before. And they just had that confidence to do it.
And you could see that down the stretch, and watching the last 2-3 minutes of that regional championship game. I know it doesn't matter if you score 10 points or in your guys' case, it was what? Three
points on the fourth quarter.
better than 2 or 1, right?
That's right.
They all count. But you did what you had to do to win. And at the end of the day, that's what matters. Whether you had to score 3 or 5 or 7, come down to the 2 big free throws at the end with 0.9 left. And I was worried after seeing the first one, but the second one looked way more confident. We just had to get that. And that's why everybody's happy. We go to 2 free throws now and not the 1-on-1.
Yeah.
So perfect time for that rule.
What about so chance to make the first?
What's that?
It would have been so much easier to make the first, but that's okay. I'll take the second.
Yes, take either one. So, question to all three, kind of going off track a little bit. Starting with you, Leah, and then we'll go Morgan and Tatum. Long basketball season. Basketball's a very long season. What has been your funniest or funnest part of the season from start to finish? Leah, you first.
Yes, it's a very long season. I think just being in the locker room all together, it's just like so wholesome that like we have this connection in the locker room and also like off the court too. Like we're all just best friends and it just like means so much to everyone.
Morgan?
I'd say our practices are pretty fun. Like when we bring in Mr. Hook and he's beating us up with the pads or just blocking our shots out of air. I think that's pretty fun. I mean, we talk about him sometimes. I like yell on his face. I say, "Don't block my friend."
Tatum?
I'm gonna say also practices, but also what we do outside of just like not the games or practices. Like we've been to different basketball games and we've done stuff all together, and I think that just helps us.
So, Leah, back to you. You guys lost to East Dubuque a few times in the regular season. You beat him in the regional semi to get back to the championship game. Was there something that changed, physically or mentally, from those first few losses to East Dubuque to where you beat him in the regional semi?
I mean, when we played them at home, it was like a close game. We lost by 2. That game, I think that we were like mentally prepared for it and like we knew that like it was going to be a challenge. But then going to East Dubuque, I don't think that we were mentally in the right spot. We played very tentative that game. And after that loss, I think that's when our mindset flipped kind of. And like we knew that we were going to see them in the regional. So that just kind of like made us realize all the pressure's on them. They beat us 3 times now, and we have nothing to lose in this game. So if we just play as best as we can, we know that we can come out with the win.
Jamie, back to you. Obviously, you've won your 6th regional championship in a row, which is more than impressive. I don't even have a word for it, but you've won the last 2 games by scoring 37 points. Is that toughness, or is that kind of your identity? You guys can get the big points when you need them, or you can grind out the gritty, low-scoring games at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's identities are meshed together and grown as the season goes on. And lately that has really been our identity. And we talked yesterday morning at practice. The morning after a regional championship, I kind of like to just sit the kids down for 10 or 15 minutes before we start practice and just kind of reflect and talk about the game and talk about the season and how special it is to get to the point that we've gotten to. I think that that's one of the things that we talked about was how much we don't care if we win a game 70-58. We would much rather win 37-30 or 37-31. Or I think my assistant coach Justin said 6-5 he'd be fine with. So, but yeah, it's cliche, but defense travels, and if sometimes shots don't go in, you have bad shooting nights. The offensive side is so much more inconsistent than what the defensive side can be, and you can always play defense. And if shots go in and you're playing defense, you're going to be in good shape. If shots are not going in and you play defense, you still got a shot.
That's true.
So, Morgan, question for you, 2 of them actually. 2 different scenarios in the regionals. First thing, what was it like in the huddle with Stockton inbounding the ball before that happened, up 40-39? What was your thoughts? What was the huddle like?
I think it was just really like belief. Like we knew that this wasn't going to happen. Like this is not going to be the end of this season. And we kind of just said, don't let off a 3, even though, that did get kind of let off. But no, I think it was the vibe just felt like belief. Like there was no way that it was going to happen like that.
So you had that where you were up 1 and you didn't have control of the game. What was the different feeling like then at the Dakota game where foul with 0.9 and now you're in control with 2 free throws? You guys have 2 free throws to win it. What was the different feeling there?
When Dakota had the ball, I was kind of just thinking like we got to play really good defense and we got to get this ball back in order to do something. And when the girl dribbled it off her foot, I'm just like, okay. get it rolling, like, let's get the ball down the court. And then when they did the timeout before Tatum's free throw, and, um, I was just like, "This gym is about to get so loud in here. I'm not gonna hear anything." And I just went up to Tatum, and I'm just like, "You got this, like, you got it." And yeah, it was definitely.
What was anything said to Tatum, or is it like, or was it kind of like the pitcher that has the no hitter that nobody kind of looks at her?
Well, yeah,
Nobody says anything to her.
Tatum went to the bench, and she had, like, the most, like, nonchalant face I've ever seen in my life. She was just like,
Pumping herself up, talking herself in the mirror.
She was ready to crush it. That's what she was doing.
So Tatum, after that big win against Dakota, what was that feeling like walking off the floor? You guys are celebrating. Well, just kind of explain what was going through your mind there.
It was amazing, honestly. The past 4 years, all we've wanted is to win a regional, and having this moment was just amazing. And we've all been playing together for such a long time, and to have a regional title is just best thing. And we just so happy for each other. We couldn't stop hugging and crying, and it was just unbelievable.
Yeah, I was down in Pecatonica that night because we were having open gyms, and I happened to pass the Krogman crew as I was heading back north towards Durand, and they were coming south going back to Lanark. What time did y'all get done partying in Durand?
I don't
I
even
don't
know
know.
the time we left.
Night.
it feel like midnight. You got in the we're like, "It feels like
I
midnight."
did. It was we stayed a while. Poor Pete, poor Durand custodial staff.
They had to
Thank
flicker the
God.
lights. They had to do the flicker of the lights to get you guys out of there.
We did.
At least you didn't pull a Herb Brooks moment. Speaking of, greatest moments in USA hockey playing right now, you didn't have to turn the lights off and make them run.
Right.
Breaker, we've talked about these tight games a lot already. What does that do for your perception of how your captains, which we've talked about these two a lot between our last show and now, what's that tell you about what they reveal being captains and their leadership, in your opinion?
They've stepped up to the challenge. It's been awesome to watch them take ownership. I think that's the biggest thing. Even just the other day in practice, I heard Tatum, she's on the sideline, and Izzy turned middle, and I hear Tatum say, "Just drop step." And when we were between reps, I said, "Hold on, Tatum has something to say." And Tatum's like, "Sir, I just drop step." They understand what it is that we want now. And they have taken it on their shoulders to where I don't have to tell them as much. And in those close games, when so many things are going on and you do have to try to manage so many things, telling one of these two what needs to be done, I know they're going to go tell their teammates. And, they have just had such mental toughness that has shown their growth as well. I can't say enough about these two kids. And then they're right. They are the two that keep it loose. There's no getting too serious with them. Silly to say or something. I'd like to see the McCoy girl and the McCullough girl go song for song, I think, because Morgan knows every song of every genre of It Doesn't Matter. Hey, if we get to a sectional championship together, maybe a little pregame, we can have a little song off between those. Yeah, there we go.
Mo's like, no.
So, question to you, Leah. Very stressful times in the regional time. What helps you stay calm and stay focused mentally this time of year?
Just breathing and enjoying the moment, like living in the present. I don't think I've ever played in that loud of a gym before in a regional game. Both games against East Dubuque and River Ridge. It's so loud in there. I can barely hear my coach talking to me. I know there's a few times Jamie grabbed me by both shoulders and just told me to relax and just to breathe. Yeah. So just like living in the moment, it's just so surreal.
Yeah, that gym was packed. You're not kidding there, man. That you could hear it through the camera. Like,
Yeah.
It was awesome. I would imagine that the crowd had to be great. I looked down at the one end zone, and you had your entire Galena student section sitting there, and then River Ridge tried to double that on their end, and both sides were it was so cool watching the ball go up and down the floor and seeing both student sections just going nuts every minute of the game.
So same question to you, Morgan and Tatum. What do you guys do personally to stay calm and in final moments of big games?
I think it's just like grabbing onto one another, like our hands, and then like just knowing that we can do anything. together. And also we talked about before the game, like this is our court, like the lines are drawn here and no outside noise can ever distract us. And so even for as loud as it was coming down to that free throw, I just think like we had so much trust in Tatum that she would have the confidence to make that free throw.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that like what Morgan said, and then also with like just breathing, like just what Leah said. Like, I think what helped me during that free throw was just to breathe and I know like just having confidence, honestly.
So this one's for both Jamie and Nicole. And Jamie, we'll go with you first. What helps you decompress during the long season? Is there anything that you do, either whether it be on the court, off the court, at home? What helps you reset yourself mentally and physically?
That's something I need to work on, I think. Well, it used to be uh, hanging out with my kids when they were little, getting away. Now my kids are old and playing and part of it, and my oldest is on the team. So I do have a second grader that, more times than not could care less if I'm coaching basketball or I'm playing a game with her. She's kind of my out. Uh, so that's cool to get away. She will occasionally ask me some questions about the team, or why didn't you do this, or why didn't you do that?
That's probably coming from mom
But yeah, right, yeah, that's
or
for
one of those
sure.
coaches on the one of the coaches on the sidelines or something. They
Yeah,
see her.
yeah,
They buy her some popcorn and then, hey, ask your dad this tonight.
right, right. But yeah, I think it's such a long season, and we've talked about that. It's such a grind, and um, it's mentally exhausting, and it's a lot harder when you're 5 and 14. Fine. Uh, it's been a really trying season for me personally, mentally, physically. It's hard at times. And I think it's something that people don't really realize is that, you put so much effort into this, so much work into it. And when things aren't going well, even when things are going well, the thought that goes into it, the constant, what can we do differently? What should we have done? And that continues to grow when you're not winning, you're not seeing results. And so it's hard, and you have to find ways to get away from it, because if you don't, you'll drive yourself completely crazy. And it's hard. You have to separate yourself from it. And my wife does a good job of trying to make that happen. Like, let's just get away tonight and let's go and let's not talk about basketball. Again, that's become harder as I've found out with a kid involved in the program, but um, there's just so much involvement that it's usually important to find something else and to get away from it for a little bit, because it's just such a grind.
Yeah, it gets different when you have a kid on the team. What happens then is those two leave to decompress and they leave you home alone. That's the difference in what happens. Nobody wants to talk
Yeah.
to you, especially if
Yes.
you lose.
Yes, absolutely.
So Jamie, go into what Jay just said before we get to Brinker. I asked Natalie that. I said, so when you go home, what do you do? She goes, I go downstairs and stay away from them until I'm ready to talk to them.
I find myself
Yeah, that's probably
yelling by myself.
yes.
Definitely, it is hard. Everything that Jamie said is so true. You pour your heart and soul and everything into this season, starting a few weeks before and even longer before that. And then when you actually hit the ground running, it's hard to find that, and it's hard to separate because, the kids become your family, and, you worry about them not only in the basketball sense, but you also worry about them as human beings. And, are they feeling okay? And, as these kids are getting old enough to make college decisions, you're worried about, are they doing that? I mean, there's so much that goes into it besides just the game of basketball, that it is hard. I have to give, a lot of credit to my coaching staff. Coach Henze obviously has been through it, and she constantly throughout the years has reminded me of, go home, you've done all you can kind of thing. But that's, she says it and I hear it. But whether it sinks in or not is a whole other story. As old as I am, I'm on the opposite end of Jamie. I do have 2 little boys I get to go home to, and they don't care about basketball. They just care that their mom is there, and they just care that, am I going to play with them? And that's really all. And I have one that just wants to snuggle and hug and love. They've seen it, that he just wants to, have all of the attention, and, we can play cars and we can do all the things. And in that moment, I'm not thinking about basketball. I'm for a couple of hours at night, we're getting homework done and reading a book and sounding out consonant, vowel, consonant words. And we're getting that done. And, going through our whole bath time and bedtime routines and all of those things. And it is a blessing to be able to have those kids and just have that shower of unconditional love, regardless of if the ball went in the hoop that night or not. And so that is really the true blessing for me, and obviously with the weather last week, my goodness, last weekend we were outside, riding bikes the entire time. I couldn't get them inside. So I know I was sitting on my step at one point in time with the computer trying to watch game film, and they're out there riding bikes saying, "Mom, did you see this? Mom, did you see this?" I'm like, "Yeah, just a second." They forced me to put the computer down. They forced me to go out there. I think that's a good thing.
So now we'll fast forward, Nicole. Wethersfield, you seen them at the Eastland shootout. They played Pecatonica there, so that was a good one to get there. Probably see some film on them. What stands out to you about the Wethersfield team?
They like to play really fast. I would almost call it almost a chaotic speed. They really push in transition. They've got probably 3 major girls that we're going to be focusing on. Their low point guard is very good. I love it because, we put them in terms of our NUIC people, that this person is kind of like this person in our conference. So number 10 is very good. She's their primary ball handler, and she can shoot the ball and she attacks the basket hard. And then they have 2 sisters. One's a senior, one's a freshman. The freshman's pretty good shooter, and the senior is, playing because it's her, like it's her last game, and she plays hard and she does all the dirty work on the glass. So, keying on those 3 is going to be huge. I think they've been talking to Jamie. They run a little bit of a 3-2 matchup zone. So we a few things in to figure out, what exactly are they going to key in on that matchup zone, so that we can get a good read of how we need to attack it. But they switch up some defenses too. They play a little bit of 2-3. They play a little bit of 1-3-1. So, they played Peck close here. I think it was a 3-point game win for Peck here, and then it was a 4-point game the other night. So they're gonna be ready to go. I've talked to their coach a few times. Obviously coming to the shootout, and he's ready to battle. He doesn't care who he plays. He just wants to play good competition. They have, and they put the ball in the hole very well. They're averaging like 50 points. Hopefully we can defense on them and do the things that we do well in order to counter the things that they do.
Coach Watson, I'll turn it over to you now. Obviously, you guys get Sterling Newman now. They're the number 1 seed. I think they're sitting at like 25-6. Very solid team. They got some good guards. They're great defensively. They play some 1-3-1. They hit the glass hard. What must Galena control in this game against Newman here coming up this week?
Yeah, all those things you said are my assessment too. They like to play fast. They are a physical defensive team. They like that 1-3-1 and are aggressive and trapping out of that. They've played some man and some run and jump press. And, I think for us, again, I think we need to slow that game down. And I think we need to make sure that our turnovers don't turn into points for them. They feast on turning turnovers into points. And, if we can take care of the basketball and get great shots every possession or most possessions and limit them in transition and force them to score against our half-court defense, I think we'll be in good shape. Our very good team, we know that. They're, at least according to Max Preps, I think they're the number 5 team in 1A. They've played a tough schedule. Coach Martin Starter is a very good player with some postseason experience last year as a freshman. She kind of controls things for them. Yeah, it's going to be a heck of a challenge, and you have to expect that in the sectional. You're going to play great teams, and we're looking forward to it. I mean, we are a competent basketball team right now, and that's a great sign for us. Our confidence is very dangerous, and we we're playing good basketball. And I think we just need to we need to focus on the things that we've done well over the course of the last month, and just play our game and do the things that we do well, and be efficient and execute.
So Leah, kind of going off what Jamie just said, you're the leader on the floor, getting ready to play what everybody perceives to be the sectional favorite in Sterling Newman. How does that fuel you?
It just means so much knowing that like we have a great like supportive community and like they'll show up to the game no matter like who we're gonna play. And like it just means so much knowing that like we just have a great crowd and like our team is just even though that we're young, it's just like everyone still believes in us no matter what they have said about us.
And then to you, Tatum, you guys had seen Wethersfield down at the Eastland shootout as fans, not as players. What confidence do you guys need to bring to the game as players to give yourself the best chance to win?
I think really just have confidence in each other, play for each other, really. You never know when your last game's going to be. And we need to just make sure, like, we don't get in our heads. And because when that happens, that's when we sometimes start shut down. We need to just help each other and rise up.
There's that rise up again. I love it.
Morgan, question for you. You're getting these postseason games now onto the sectionals here. What kind of matters the most? Is it defense? Is it not turn the ball over? Is like what do you feel like is the most important part of a sectional game here coming up?
Yeah, I'd say defense, but I think it also is kinda on the other team. Like, you kinda wanna feel like you're just playing to play and you're playing to win, but yeah, at this point in the season, it's really fun. Like, it's really fun to be out there on the court, and now that we have this, like, regional, like, the stress of everything is just off our shoulders, and we're just playing to have a good time.
And kudos to the AD getting the sectional. That
Yeah.
makes it even better.
Cheers to Scott. So, Jamie and Nicole, this one's for you guys. You guys have been in a combined 17 sectionals, which is just amazing between your guys' careers. At the same time, you both have lost in the sectionals too. So, what mistake ends the season at this level? Nicole, I'll let you go first this time.
I mean, there's so many things that could happen. I just think that it is executing the game plan. The kids just need to go out and play. Jamie and I will take the loss if it comes down to it. That, it was because of something that we overlooked or something along those lines. They're the ones that are out there playing, but it's our job to put them in the positions that they need to be in to be successful. So if it comes down to we're done, it's going to go all on my shoulders, plain and simple, that they haven't executed the game plan or my game plan was wrong because these kids just go out and play so hard. And so I think it will all come back on, for me, it'll come back on me and the coaching staff of not having them where they needed to be because these kids will do anything that we ask them to do at this point in time. And any of those games, even when we lost the sectional to Jamie, it comes back to, again, it was a close game. I remember over at Pearl City. And, there were just a couple things that we could have done better. And that was more game management than anything else. So I let my kids play free and I'll take all that.
And to you, Jamie?
Well, first of all, speaking of loud gyms, I think that was the loudest gym that I have ever been in when we played at Pearl City in that sectional that year. That was fun. But yeah, that was a great answer. Well, that's a tough follow-up. But I think execution is hugely important for sure. We'll do our best to put together some kind of game plan to figure out what gives us the best chance to win. And these things can go either way. These games are so highly contested, and that's the way it should be. I think the name of the game is putting the ball in the basket. And if you can hit a couple shots that you might not always otherwise hit, get somebody to the free throw line that makes a couple free throws late. These games can go either way. And so yeah, the execution is hugely important. But outside of that, we need someone to step up and do something that they may or may not have done throughout the course of the season. And in these big moments, that usually happens. The team that comes out victorious can usually point to someone that said, "Man, that person did this or this." Something we haven't seen from them or on a consistent basis. So you usually have some kind of silent hero in there somewhere.
To you, you were in sixth grade when Eastland won state in 2020. What do you remember about that? And, just simply about that. What do you remember about that group? Were you there?
That group was just amazing to watch. It was so fun just to watch those guys play. And I still remember when Lydia made that game winner in sectional. And
Rolling the ball down court.
yeah, it was, yeah, it's just amazing to watch those guys play. And now being able to win a regional title and hopefully do as good as they did.
It's funny that you mentioned that one, Tatum, because as I was trying to put pictures together to put the promo out for this show specifically, I came across the 2020 team and I saw a picture of Lydia at Pecatonica after that sectional championship game. And the smile on her face was it tells a story just in itself. And I could only imagine what it felt like to be there that night when she hit that shot. And obviously it made Sports Center top 10 as well. So what an awesome atmosphere and moment. And now it's your turn.
Yeah, Morgan, kind of same question to you. What do you remember about that team, and did you ever think that you guys would be in this position when regional and all those things?
Yeah, that team was surreal. Like, I was definitely terrified of them. I'd come up to after games and I'd be like, "Good job!" Like, they didn't have a clue in the world who I was. I mean, maybe they'd come up to games sometimes, but yeah, they were such an inspiration to us younger girls and kind of following in their footsteps. I hope that a team like us, coming from the season we had last year to now this year, like, they can have that same mindset that, anything is possible.
So outside of having Coach Henze on the bench, one thing I have noticed is you have one of Eastland's greatest players of all time at every one of your games. And Erin Henze, as she's sitting there taking pictures of you guys, does she ever come up and say anything to you guys?
She's too
No.
busy. She was in New York, during our regional
Yeah.
championship game,
Yeah.
taking pictures.
Yeah. So Leah, you've won, well, Galena has won 6 straight regional titles. You've been fortunate to be on 4 of those regional championship teams now. It's your senior year. You were part of the team that finished 3rd in state your freshman year. You were in 8th grade when they were state runner-up. What makes this one different for you?
It's just like really like an honor, like being able to like represent like Galena and like living through like what they've built and now like being in it and like setting the standard high for like the younger girls below me and just like being able to show them like anything is possible. Just it's kind of like crazy.
So question, Jamie. So how is it now winning 6 straight? Is it challenging to coach groups to show the hard work that has to go into winning one and not that they're entitled for one?
Yeah, I think that's a message that we try to get out there early. Actually, we talked a little bit about it yesterday. That it's, we talked about Maya and our seniors being a part of 4 volleyball regionals or basketball regionals, and we kind of went through. I started to look up some of the other programs, whether it be boys or girls, and just tried to get them to understand that it's really, really hard to win a regional, and they can't take these things for granted, and you have to continue to work, and it's not a given, and it's really hard to do, and it's I mean, we've been very fortunate with some great kids and some excellent leaders that have helped push that message, because as you guys know, kids will only listen to my voice for so long, and it has to be some of their peers also delivering that same message. And we've been very fortunate. Excellent leaders in our program and excellent role models for our younger players and our youth programs to also help deliver that message that there is a lot of work that goes into this, and it's not just because you're Galena that you're going to win this thing. It's all that hard work that really doesn't finish. When the season is done, you stay working. And the summer is hugely important. And keeping a basketball in your hand during the fall and hitting the ground running in November, it's a constant process. And so I think the biggest thing is having those players deliver that message and not just say it, but to show it. And you always want your best players to be your hardest workers and your best leaders to be your hardest workers. That doesn't always happen, but more times than not for us, it has happened. It's happening again with Leah. Everything that she does is persistent and consistent, and she works harder than anybody. And there's a reason why she's our best player and one of the best players in the area. It's because of that hard work, and yeah, that's the most important.
So, Coach Brinker, kind of the same question. Obviously, everyone knows about the Eastland tradition across all sports. You got the 20-some sectional banners hanging in the gym across all sports. You got the state banners hanging there. How do you honor that tradition without being weighed down by it?
Obviously, every team is different. Even if you only change a couple of players, each season is different, and just making sure that you treat each team, uniquely and playing to their strengths. But, there does come a sense of that tradition that you need to live up to. There are expectations. And, I know the kids from Galena can understand where this is coming from. Not all schools understand that. And that is a lot of pressure on these kids that they do see. They walk the halls and they see the trophies, and they go into the gym and they see the banners. And those, they loom there. And so, they know that they have to give their best. And, you do see the alumni show up, I'm thinking at the regional championship, no Aaron wasn't there, but we had Carly Krogman was across the way, Krogman Swolf, sorry, now married. And Jenna Green, who's our new softball coach, stands. She was so mad after the game that they were not running something right. She's like, they're not running that right. And I said, I know. And so the fact that you have these alumni that care so much about these kids. And that's I think the biggest thing is that not only do the kids want to live up to that tradition, but they have the alumni that are coming back and supporting them. And I think that's important for these kids to understand that even after you graduate, there is still support for you because people know what you've been through and they want you to have the same success, but they also feel for you because they know how much time and effort and work that it put into hanging some of those banners. And so they expect the same thing out of the kids. So I think that's a big deal. And tradition is great and it has positives and negatives. But I think in the end, there's nothing better than having such strong tradition because you do have a sense of, even outside the coaching staff, you have a community, you have a school that is expecting great things from you.
Well, that's one of the things I like about it too, Nicole, is you played for Coach Hensey back before she was Coach Hensey, and you were one of the greatest players at that time to come out of Eastland. I know you're not going to say it, but you were an amazing athlete for Eastland. And it was a lot of fun I never got to actually watch you play. I don't recall, but I remember reading about you in the newspaper when we had great journal coverage back in those days. And it's so cool to see how you played under Colleen. Colleen had a Hall of Fame career, and now she sits on your bench with you. And you're leading this group with her and Jane still there helping guide everything. And to me, that speaks volumes for what your tradition is. And likewise, looking at Galena with Jamie, Jamie is definitely, you're leading your own legacy. And quite honestly, you two in my book are going to be Hall of Fame coaches. I know you guys don't think about that stuff, but when you just look at the numbers, you look at the success, and you look at the legacies you're leaving, it screams where you're heading. To me, what you guys have done collectively is just remarkable. The fact that you two are the two that are here today getting ready to get into these sectionals with the 700 plus combined wins between you, the 17 regional titles, 4 state place winners. That's awesome. And you guys definitely lead the way for the NUIC, but it's also great to hear how great our conference is at the same time. So going to the players, Morgan, Tatum, and Leah, what are you most proud about of this team this year? Tatum, I'll start with you.
Probably just our like fighting and like our hard work that we put in. We've all put so much effort into this team, and like we all are just we've worked so hard to be able to win a regional. And all and like just playing through stuff too, like Trixie getting hurt. It just we played through that. We found a way to win, and it's just yeah.
Morgan?
I would definitely say I agree with Tatum, and it's like our heart that we have, and just the fact that we still want to play even through all these everyone like doubting us and stuff like that. But yeah, I'd say it's our heart.
Leah, you obviously had to fight back through some of your own adversity as well, but about your team, what makes you most proud?
Probably just like being able to overcome like what everyone has said about us and like having a bad record, but like still going into practice every day, wanting to get better and like working so hard for every little accomplishment that we do get.
The last question then to both coaches. Nicole first. What will you remember most about this season?
Their grit. I mean, they're just such good kids. You know, you go from the beginning of the season, you know, you have to go all the way back. We started the season, and over the summer, we had our core. Trixie came and went to play volleyball, but, you know, we had the kids showing up to everything, and that included Izzy Ames. And we started the season, and Izzy was out. You know, so she was out for quite a while. And so that was a huge adjustment, even from the beginning of the year. And then, you know, when about the time that she came back, Trixie needed to rest for a while. And so we were with her for a while, and Trixie comes back, and then Trixie's out. And then one of our six man off the bench, Celeste Lauer, on Wednesday night rolls her ankle, and it's as purple as can be, you know. And so all of a sudden on Thursday, you know, we're throwing in a different six man off the bench. I think just the grit and the resiliency to continue to overcome all of the things that we have been through. But really, it comes down to these guys are goofs. I mean, they are so fun. You are never sure what, the minute I come in the gym, what they're going to be talking about, what they're going to be saying. And the fact that they're just great kids is really the thing that is the most important to me right now. You know, it's that regional championship that they were able to attain that they've wanted for so long. I can't be more proud of them. I know that on Thursday, I just stood back. I mean, I took it in because that to me meant the most is to watch them get the plaque and hoist it up. And, you know, it had nothing to do with me. I stood back and watched them, and I was so excited for them that is going to be so huge. You know, hopefully we can go get another plaque. But to be honest, the watching them hoist that one was so incredibly important to this season, and will live forever in my mind. It is probably one of the most important regionals I think that I've been a part of.
And you, Jamie?
I think the word that comes to mind is persistence. And I think that this was a very difficult season at times. You know, we set up a difficult non-conference schedule on purpose. And I think at one point in time early in the season, we had the toughest strength of schedule of anybody in the top 120 rankings in 1A. And when we did that, I didn't know Leah was going to be hurt. And, you know, we took some lumps, and I threw some young kids into the fire, including my own, which I had some blowback at home for. But I put a lot of kids in some difficult positions, and it was out of necessity. And their persistence and their ability to continue to work has just been really impressive. And we have a lot of talent on this team, but it's not a perfect situation. A perfect situation is to have, at least in my opinion, a bunch of upperclassmen who have a lot of experience, and then sprinkle in some talent of the younger ages. And, you know, we have talent across the board, and we have several leaders, but we threw some kids into positions that they were probably not ready for. And we played some tough teams, and we took some lumps. It was hard. It was hard
at home. It was hard on the court. It was hard at school. But their persistence has been so impressive to me. This is, and I think I can say similar to Nicole, that this regional was a really, really special one for me. And just knowing what we went through, and we always have high expectations in our program, and publicly there are high expectations. Yeah, I was talking to one of our custodial staff at school the other day, and he said, "Well, you guys have come a long way. I watched you at the beginning of the season, and whoa, it's like, that's great, thanks for that." So it was, everybody had
Then as he pushes it and walks away, he tells you, "Get out of that 1-3-1."
right. Yeah. I mean, a suggestion box, we need a bigger box, but it's,
it's been it's been a really, really special year. And, for me personally, my oldest daughter, McKenna, being a part of it has been really, really cool. She's been at every one of our regional championships since she was 2 years old at the first one. But I was doing a radio interview after the game the other night, and I had to stop. It was her turn to cut down the net. So that was cool for me. And then outside of that, being, seeing what Leah has gone through and watching her behind the scenes, you think about somebody that was injured and fights back, and you're like, well, yeah, that's tough. But you really look at it, what she went through from June of last summer to missing an entire volleyball season to not being where she wanted to be right away. Her ability to fight through that is just so incredibly impressive. And it's hard. I can't imagine how hard it was for her to not be where she wanted to be. And I know she battled, and I still don't think she's where she wants to be. And she's going to get there. So the resiliency and the persistence and where we were at the beginning of the year to where we are now, it's been a special year, a special group, and to go through two really, really good teams at the River Ridge regional, and two very well coached teams, two very talented and veteran teams. It's really special.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. We touched base on quite a bit of that here. It's awesome. I mean, granted, we always want to see the NUIC teams win, but the storylines that we have leading in this sectional, I don't think you could draw them up much better, especially with you, Jamie, having a 6 seed and having to fight back through everything that you've had. You had guys like Jay looking at you guys from afar saying, there's going to be a team to watch. Just wait for it. And here you are. And, Leah, you went off the other night in that regional championship game, and it's been fun to see you play over the course of the past couple years, but, really coming into your own this year, especially, and then fighting through but seeing your progression here late in the season as well has been awesome. And then, same with you, Nicole, with what you've done with Eastland basketball and the grittiness and the way that you guys have battled through to win your regional championship has been awesome to see, especially with your captains and leaders there and Morgan and Tatum. And, going back to our conversation earlier this year where you would do anything that you wanted to do to get these guys to get that regional championship. And you stated it. You sat back at the regional championship presentation, and I watched the video of you, and then I've gone back and I've looked at pictures of you. The emotion on your face says it all. Just you saying that you would do anything that you could. You show that emotion on your face, and as a player, you gotta love that about yourself as a coach, being the leader that you are for these kids. And I know that they appreciate you because they keep talking your speak when they talk, and it's awesome. And we wish you both the best of luck in these sectionals. Hopefully we see you both on Thursday night playing for that sectional championship. But we definitely appreciate you guys taking the time out of your Sunday mornings to join us today. We want to congratulate you again on a regional championship. At the end of the day, getting 2 regionals is awesome. Now you're in sectionals. You're the last 2 teams standing in our area, and only one of the final 4 here is gonna make it past to the Elite 8, so to speak. Hopefully, it's one of you guys.
thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.
We have a lot to talk about coming up next. Obviously, Eastland's going to play Wethersfield Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, followed by Galena and Newman at 7:30. Those games taking place at the Eastland Sectional in Lanark. Myself, Joe, and Jay will be right back right after this. When the job matters, your equipment can't fail. That's where J&R Rentals delivers. Serving Tri-States area from East Dubuque, J&R Rentals is your local source for dependable equipment. From lifts, trailers, pumps, and job site essentials built to work as hard as you do. Homeowners, contractors, big projects, or small jobs, expect the same standard every time. Pickup or delivery is available. Equipment sales, service and repairs, propane refills, liable equipment from people who know the job. Call J&R Rentals today at 815-747-7707 and get to work. All right. We just got done with our regional championship podcast. And, it was great having Jamie back on because we didn't get to have a conversation with him yet this year. Of course, he brought Leah Heller with him. And last year we were able to talk to him on a couple different occasions. We had him with Gracie. And then, of course, he was part of our regional podcast last year as well. And then having Brinker back on again, along with Tatum and Morgan, was excellent to see. Obviously, both great representatives of the NUIC. Great tradition and history between both coaching staffs. 17 combined regional titles between them, 4 state placement winners at state, and then, just 700 plus wins combined. Both of them definitely surefire Hall of Famers, in my opinion, when it all gets said and done. Great job by both teams getting where they're getting to. But, that story about Galena starting 5-14 and then getting healthy, getting hot, turning it back around. Jay, you were on that boat from the start back in mid-January, and it's been a fun ride to watch.
No, and you can just see it in certain teams, and I think people look too much into records when you've seen the injuries that they had and what they were bringing back. I mean, Leah Heller was a player last year that was their big number 2 to go with Gracie, right? And you knew once they got healthy it was, and I think that's why when you look at records, you can throw a lot of records out this time of year because records don't mean anything after the season. You're 0-0 and you got to play your best basketball. A lot of teams were playing their best basketball and both did it different ways, right? Galena did it with playing their best basketball at the end. People that knew what they were about and that close to that, like I could say myself that we played them there at the end. You could see the talent that was there. It was just them getting healthy and playing together. And then again, it don't matter. They played 2 familiar teams that they knew how to play with and knew how to win. And they did those things to get to a sectional. And on the Eastland side, that's a group that other than myself, of course, I found myself rooting for because of the storyline behind the thing of how they play basketball. We played them multiple times this year and they were played hard, respectful kids, played basketball the right way. If you're going to lose and watch somebody win, that's who you root for as a coach. And that's why, I was rooting for them from afar just because of the way they play, right? They play hard. They play the right way. Their girls talk to their own. They don't make it about anything other than what's in their huddle. And it was great to watch them win, especially at the end of the year with the unfortunate luck they had with Trixie going down and the resiliency that they showed coming back and winning a regional title. They'll remember that one. So great to talk to both of them. Best of luck to both of them. A very good sectional that we held in Lanark. And other good thing is they're not playing each other. They're both playing different teams. They're not going to see each other unless if they would meet in sectionals. So it's not NUIC beating on NUIC. It's the NUIC playing 2 different conferences and seeing if they can meet in the sectional championship.
Yeah, no, I love it. And Joe, looking at that bracket breakout, when we were talking about that bracket here, we talked about that regional that Newman was in, the Galva regional. Of course, Polo was in that one. And we all had stated that Newman was the surefire favorite to get out of that. And they made that come to fruition. Likewise, the Fulton regional, we had eyes on Pectonica, Wethersfield, and that game lived up to exactly the billing that we'd seen between those two back at the Eastland shootout. This time the roles got reversed, so a 7-point swing from game 1 to game 2. And then, the hard part was we knew that Eastland was the 1 seed, but we talked about Orangeville and Dakota being the 4 or 5s, having a great opportunity to be the teams that could potentially do the proverbial upset of Eastland, but then Stockton came out of nowhere, gave Eastland everything they could to a 1-point loss, and then Eastland survived the onslaught of Dakota to a 1-point win to get another regional championship. And then likewise in that River Ridge regional, we talked about the opportunities with an East Dubuque and a River Ridge being there, along with Galena. Galena being the 6th seed, we said Jay brought it up. Don't count out that 6th seed, and here we are with the 6th seed, Galena, with the experience under their belts, back in the sectional after winning another regional championship.
Yeah, just everything you guys said there, I couldn't have said better myself. But, you look at this is a wide open sectional, in my opinion, guys. You can make a case for all 4 of these teams. You look at the grid Eastland showed. We talked about it with Coach Brinker, 1-point win over Stockton, 1-point win over Dakota. I mean, that's got to give that team some confidence. And obviously a very senior-laden Eastland team. I don't think you can look past that at this point of the season either. And then, you look at what Wethersfield did. They win at Fulton, and then they beat Pecatonica, and the defending state champs. They're going to be coming with a lot of confidence, and then Galena, of course, we talked with Coach and with Lee about what they did, but, nothing feels better, guys, than beating those conference opponents, to win a regional that you lost to twice in the regular season. I mean, Galena's got to be riding high confidence-wise coming into this. And then, of course, Sterling Newman, they're playing their best basketball of the season right now. They look really good. So this is going to be a fun sectional. I can't wait. And we'll see how it plays out here.
I mean, and what's great is every one of these teams can win just as much as they can lose, which is really what you want to see in a sectional, right? I mean, I think we definitely have 4 of the best teams here. They've gotten their way through, and we've talked at it ad nauseum, but the way that they seeded the subsectionals now with the straight seeding and then breaking it up into the brackets, I mean, you can't argue that these aren't the 4 best teams remaining.
Well, I seen the comments and I read the comments and people complaining, and my only thing, like we've talked about, is maybe look when you're picking your regional host and everything, find a media, a middle ground,
more
with everything.
centralized location.
Yes, than like one end to the other. Nothing's perfect though. But here's the thing, that as a coach in either football and or basketball, has coached them both, and I would say the same thing. What you want is the opportunity for the 4 best teams in basketball to play in a sectional. And we've seen year in and year out multiple times where one side is loaded and the other side is not, because they do regional style. After the first 4, you're going where you're going. And you look at this year and the 4, 5, 6, and it could have been something if it was this year, your Eastland and Galena and all of them were in one side, right? Rather than how it played out. Galena and Eastland were on 2 separate. Now they're playing in a sectional.
Right. That's a great point, Jay. Eastland and Galena in the old system easily could have been in the same regional with Galena having the record they had.
Yeah, because of
the
going with geography. And you can complain about whatever you want to complain about. And you can complain about, I got to make a 1-hour trip or 2-hour trip, but it's the same crap I talk about. How many teams from up here travel to AFC on a Monday or Tuesday night?
Not many.
Oh,
I mean, a lot do.
A lot do. Yeah. And it's always like, dude, it'd be nice if we played this game on a Friday or Saturday so we don't have school the next day. Or you travel to a Galena from an Orangeville, and it's over an hour drive to play a girls' basketball game, and it's like, you do that all week, and now it's like, okay, I got to play an hour and a half and I got to drive to here. Okay, well, would you rather play a team that gives you a better shot to win or lose for it all, or go home?
Right.
Same thing for football. It's like we talk about travel, but those games are played on Saturday, and it's like anybody's fine playing anywhere. And I think you can't have it both ways. And I'm not going to complain about an hour drive or an hour and a half drive if it gives each school the best opportunity and the 4 best teams to win a regional and meet in a thing because of one thing called geography. Because we can just keep going down the rabbit hole on geography, and you look at some of the teams that didn't win, that won a regional because they're 10 miles, or you look at, makes no sense of whatever, but you just got to play the card that's handed, and that is when they break down your sectional, subsectional, you do it 1 through whatever, and it gives you everybody the best chance.
Right.
Well, and guys, let's not I love it. And let's not oversee the fact you got Eastland at their own sectional here. You know what kind of crowd they're going to bring. You got the tradition of Galena. You know what kind of crowd they're going to bring. And that Eastland gymnasium is perfect for this type of atmosphere. I mean, this is going to be a fun sectional.
Yeah, the only thing that Eastland will have to do better, and I think by having home cooking at home will help, they will have a shot as long as they play well early and they don't miss the shots that they missed against Dakota, because Dakota let them off the hook in that, because when Trixie went down, I think by everybody around, Dakota became that heavy favorite.
Yes.
I think that can be agreed upon, that they became that heavy favorite. And watching that beginning of that game, Eastland battled and missed many easy shots that they normally make at Duran and some layups and that. I don't think that will hopefully be the case for them against Wethersfield at home. You hope that they don't have that. They're going to have the home crowd, all of those things. But in a sectional game, that will send you home.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you can't miss those games. And I think the matchup for Sterling Newman, the Galena game, will be probably one of the toughest ones that they're going to have, because I think just what Galena brings to the table, and been there, done that in that, I think that's going to be a tougher game than what people think, even though Sterling Newman is the favorite. I'll say it again here first. Don't be shocked if that is a under 6 to 4 point game mid fourth quarter, with Galena chance to upset them, because just how they're playing and how they're going to play defense, they're not going to allow Sterling Newman to dictate the tempo. And both, you got contrasting styles in both games. Both Eastland and Galena like to be in control and keep the tempo. Wethersfield plays a almost panic style up and down basketball, along with Newman plays that same way. That watch that can be good and that can be bad when things start getting close in the third and fourth quarter and you're the heavy favorite, which both of those teams are to Eastland and Newman. It gets a lot tighter for them.
Yeah, it's good. I like what you're saying there, Jay. And that's why I think these matchups are going to be so fun to watch. The best part is, with boys regionals kicking off tomorrow as well, is that the games are Monday, Wednesday, so it does not interfere with these sectionals, which are Tuesday, Thursday.
Right.
So that would be even better.
On a completely different note, that should be something that everyone should look at for the forthcoming years with everything.
Don't oversee
the amount of not, AD spend all this time, and this isn't a shot at anything, because it's just a frustration of mine. You know when the regionals are going to be for the girls. It's the last week of the boys. Schedule appropriately so you can have student sections from each team. And we've fought it. You would think after the first couple of years that I have been there and said it, we've fought it the last 3, 4, 5 years, that you continually say, look not to schedule Tuesday, Thursday games so we can have a student section at our regional game. And it shouldn't be that hard. And every year we've had these games scheduled Tuesday and Thursday nights. Not that we played on Thursday night, but if we would have won, we wouldn't have had student sections at either game.
Yeah. Well, and Jay,
plays a part into it.
Yeah, I had the Newman game on the radio, the regional championship for the Newman girls. Their boys were at home playing in senior night when their girls are playing in the regional championship. Like, and again, I'm like you, I'm not putting anybody down, but there's got to be a way to fix that.
We had our senior night
26, Jay Doyle. There has to be a way to fix that.
We had senior night on the Tuesday of our regional game against Dakota.
Yeah.
Like,
these small towns, that's your fan base. Is the other team's players and parents. Like, that's your fan base. Yeah. There's got to be a way to fix it.
Unneeded frustration that coaches go through behind the scenes, that it just it feels like you're sometimes talking into and nobody's listening. It's like year in and year out, it's like, hey, that Tuesday we're going to have a regional game. It would be nice not to schedule a boys game, because in twofold, our girls wanted to be there for the senior boys senior night, and the boys wanted to be there for the regional game. And it's like, they get to do anything, and neither, when you're a school.
It'd be simple they just said for that last week of the regular season for boys, they just played one game on Wednesday, because the girls aren't playing on Wednesday unless there's a snow out.
Monday, Wednesday.
Yeah, some of the girls' regionals were on Monday, but still that'd be the semis. But there's got to be a way to fix that.
But that needs to be fixed and watched, to create a better atmosphere for those games and for the girls, and both involved, because a lot of those girls are the same ones that go to the boys' games and support them, and they're missing their senior nights of their classmates and stuff like that. Well, I'm done beating that.
That's a whole nother podcast, Jay.
Yeah, it is a whole nother podcast, but it's a great question to bring up and something we can definitely touch base on yet later this year. We still got to get through baseball and softball stuff and see how all that commingles and straightens out too. But yes, state wrestling happened this past week, and we did get one individual state champion out of our group, which was Eli Larson from Lena Winslow Stockton, going back to back as a state champ. Last year he won at 175 pounds. This year he wins at 190 pounds. Also for Lena Winslow Stockton, Jeremiah Luke finishes as the state runner-up, losing 2-1 in overtime. A heartbreaker of a match. Just not much for him to do offensively in his match. It was a great stalemate type of match where both wrestlers, true heavyweight styles, and then hand fighting most of the match, and just really no offense to speak of. Jeremiah Luke comes out on the losing end of that one, but a great career for him. Back-to-back state runner-up finishes for Jeremiah Luke. At 215 pounds, Lena Winslow Stockton's Oliver McPeak finishes in third place. At 120 pounds, Morrison's Kill Wright finishes in third place. At 144 pounds, Lena Winslow Stockton's Harrison Bauer finishes at fifth place. So great performances all around for our area wrestlers. Of course, we had a couple other wrestlers from West Carroll and Amboy, and Morrison as well, all make it to Champaign for state, but those were the place winners that came out of it. And it's going to be a great thing moving forward here as we get ready to go into team state, which starts next Friday down at Bloomington. Lena Winslow Stockton will be our team representative after winning the regional championship. They move into the state quarterfinals after beating Wheaton Academy in the team duels at sectionals. So they will play they will face Gibson City Melvin Sibley, GCMS, who's also in a co-op with Fisher, in the state quarterfinals on Friday at 7 p.m. in Bloomington. That winner will face the winner of Chicago Hope and Vandalia. Both those schools had multiple state championships. Vandalia and Hope had back-to-back matches where their individual wrestlers were competing against each other as well. Hope had a string there where they had 3 consecutive wrestlers at the individual state finals competing. Lena Winslow Stockton did beat Vandalia earlier this year down at Abe's Rumble in Springfield. The favorite is Coal City. Coal City is the number 1 ranked team in state. They did not fare very well in the individual part of the state tournament, but they did see all 11 members of their team at the state tournament, the only team to do so. So that in itself speaks volumes. Another area team that's also competing at state is going to be Dixon. They will face off with Althoff Catholic. Althoff Catholic had a wrestler become a 2-time state champion yesterday as well. So this state quarterfinals for wrestling is going to be awesome. Another cool thing at state, former Dakota coach Pete Alber was one of the grand marshals for the Grand March, which in my opinion is one of the greatest traditions in IHSA sports. It's really cool how they do the Grand March. West Carroll's Emma Harrell sang the national anthem for the wrestling state finals yesterday as well. So that was really cool to see. She did an awesome job in her rendition of the national anthem as well. We also saw another commitment for one of our area players to play in college. Duran's Emily Ball commits to play softball at Marian University. So congratulations to Emily on her commitment to Marian University. And boys, I'm going to bring you back in here. It's what we've been talking about. The boys basketball regionals kick off tomorrow. We have some great matchups and obviously a huge setting here in these regionals that are going to lead towards the Oregon sectional. Taking a look at some of these games from the NUIC, you have Sterling Newman playing AFC. Morrison will play Rock Island Alleman. Forston will play Milledgeville. All that is in the Alleman Regional. Then you have Galena against Alden Hebron, Warren against Woodstock Marion, Pecatonica against Durand, Lena Winslow against Christian Life. That's all for the Woodstock Marion Regional. The Pearl City Regional will feature the 1 seed Dakota playing River Ridge, Pearl City Stockton, East Dubuque versus Orangeville, Scalesbound versus South Beloit. And then the Bureau Valley Regional will see Eastland play Our Lady of the Sacred Heart, West Carroll will play Polo, and then Fulton will play Bureau Valley. And the other matchup is non-NUIC related, but it's Orion versus Hiawatha. So basically, every one of these games we're seeing an NUIC team in except one. So that in itself is cool. We have 32 teams in this sectional, so everybody's playing in the regional quarterfinals.
Everybody gets to play. I think the biggest one I look at was you look at your 8, 9s, and 7 and 10s. The 7-10 matchup that I thought was interesting to me was the Warren Marion, just because Marion, bigger school, competition wise, Warren has been one of my sleepers all year with how they play. That was the first round one that I really look at. My second round matchup, because of what just transpired this week, if both become victorious, will be a big one would be Pecatonica versus Lee Win. Lee Win just beat Pecatonica this week. And that was, surprise in the fact of seeding, but not surprising in the fact of what Lee Win brings to the table with their strength and toughness to the Pecatonica team who they upset this week.
Yeah, Jay, I'd agree with everything you just said there. I think that Polo West Carroll first round game, that 7-10 matchup will be a fun game. That should be a very competitive ball game. But you kind of look ahead to that second round. It's just kind of human nature there. I look at Dakota having to play at Pearl City. Obviously, I still got Dakota as the favorite.
That's my trump always, Joe.
Having to go play in that semifinal as the favorite against the lower seed on their home court can be a tester, I'll say. So we'll see there. Guys, one other side note here to this. I know it's not NUIC related, but the number 1 seed overall in the 1 subsectional, Newman, possibly could have to go play Rock Island Alleman at Alleman in the semi. Newman only beat Alleman by 3 earlier in the season. Now, for the number 1 team in the state, Sterling Newman, that's a tough draw here. I'm not predicting an upset by any means, but that is a very, very tough draw for Newman. I'm just saying that would change this whole sectional, if an upset happened there.
Well, Joe, again, it's what I talk about as the wild card factor. They would play Rock Island Alleman at Rock Island Alleman.
Yes.
And it is just a different vibe. It's like, I'm telling you right now, and I will admit if I'm wrong, but I will easily say that Pearl City Dakota game is going to be something to watch.
That atmosphere is going to be insane. Yeah. That's going to be a great atmosphere.
Dakota is the 1 seed and they are by far the favorite. You can see it in other ones where like the 1 and the 4, and you have 4 of the top teams. You're the only other team that people feel for Dakota that they can't play with is a Newman that they wouldn't see it till sectionals, right?
Right.
A Pearl City and an East Dubuque team who I love how East Dubuque plays in a regional style setting and what they bring to the table. Those are going to be 2 very tough games for Dakota to earn a regional title. If they can get through that, that's going to get them ready to play in a sectional. I'm just telling you, playing a Pearl City team,
right,
with I think one of the best basketball players in the area in Kemple.
Right.
And here's something that you can do in a regional game or a game when you're not a guard, is you can really take that player out of the game. Kemple has the ball in his hands all the time. He is going to facilitate and do and control the game. And like I said, he will be, if not the best player on the court at home, and he wants to go out a certain way.
Right.
I just think that will be one of the most interesting second round matchups you're going to find, besides the fact of, if both teams are victorious, the Lee-Win Peck rematch from this last week.
Yeah. Guys, another team I want to keep an eye on here is Forston. There's been times they haven't played their best ball this season. They've had different guys injured. They're a team that, talent-wise and when healthy, they can play with just about anybody. I feel like there might be some people sleeping on them heading into the regionals here. So I want to throw that out there as well.
Yeah, no, I definitely like where Forston sits there.
They've seen Sterling Newman. They lost to him by 10 at the Workins over Christmas. So, I mean, if they would get back to Newman, they've seen him. That 1-3-1 wouldn't be a shock to them, so.
And they have guard play.
Right, excuse me. Yes, they do. So I think they're a team that you can't fall asleep on here heading into regionals.
I like what the Cardinals have. They got to get stronger down low a little bit. They have to have more presence down low, especially, getting the ball down low, scoring down low, but most importantly, getting the boards as well. But
Right.
yes, their outside play with the guards that they have is great. They can run up and down the court. They can transition very well, and those things will be huge for the Cardinals into these playoffs. Like Jay said, that Galena Warren potential matchup in the second round, but that Warren Marion first round matchup is going to be huge. I think we can all agree the Peck Lee Win matchup in the second round is going to be a fun one. Dakota Pearl City, provided Pearl City gets by Stockton, will be fun.
Scales Mound,
Scales Mound,
two,
East Dubuque.
4 and 5 would be a good one.
And then Orion Fulton will be fun, I think. But I think when you look at that Bureau Valley, everybody's eyes are on the potential regional championship matchup between Eastland and Orion there. And I would say that is probably the softest of the 4 regionals, in my opinion,
Right.
based off what these 2 teams have. Both Eastland and Orion are state ranked. And then, like you said, Joe, you got Newman 1 ranked, Dakota's number 8 ranked. So we have some great showing of teams. And let's not be remiss of Galena. Galena may not be state ranked, but
Right.
they are showing up in the top 20 of everybody's ratings, no matter what site you go to, whether it's Massey, Max Preps, or even Nesto Hoops. Galena's right there in that mix.
Yeah, without a doubt. They're playing as good a basketball as anybody right now. So we'll see what happens. That regional there, if you have, that semifinal night of Galena Warren and Pac Lena, I mean, what tremendous matchups those are. I mean, my gosh.
That's what we said. We said that the Woodstock Marion Regional is by far the toughest regional with the teams that you have in it.
Yeah.
And, it goes back to what Jay was just talking about with the girls' side. A lot of people are complaining about this travel, but are you more concerned about the travel or do you like the bracket layout? Me personally, I look at the bracket layout. This is what everybody actually wanted. I mean, the next thing would be to just see the sectional straight 1 through 32.
Right.
But we got the best thing that we could, and that's seeding the subsectional 1 through 16. And this bracket lays out for the opportunity to have the 4 top teams that win in these regionals at that sectional when we go to Orion for that section.
Well, and what it also does is the fact of they would have probably done a little different, and you'd be heavy on one side and less heavy, and the person that's less heavy is happier because they don't have to go through those teams. But that isn't how it's supposed to be played out. And I would say what's so different from this year to the other years, whether it was like, I go back to like the girls' side because I'm more involved in the girls' side, right? You had what I like about the spread out part of it is the fact of multiple years, and in the last couple of years, you've seen Peck be a top 3 or 5 team in the state. Ourselves were a top 8, 10 team in the state. You had Rockford Lutheran, who was a top 10 team in the state. You had this team, and all those teams were like, and Galena, all those teams were in like one regional. And you had to play each other to get out of a regional rather than more spread out, everybody spread out, and you get a little more variety. And at least what you also get in the regional game is you get the top 2 teams in the regional game that are playing. You get better regional games and you get better sectional games of the 4 teams. Yes, the travel sometimes sucks, I get it, but you're talking about this could be the last time you're going to go watch your team play. This could be the last time you go watch your son or daughter play. It's like, is it really that big of a bitch to give them the best opportunity to win or lose a game? Rather than you look at some of the regionals we look at and you have three or 4 of the top teams. What would have happened if they would have done the seeding and its geography and Sterling, Newman, Dakota, and Eastland are all in the same regional?
Right. Yeah.
And it's like,
exactly.
You have 3 of the top teams in the area and they're all in one regional and you got to seed them because that's what was happening, right? And it's like now that this year that they went 1 through 16 and seeded it out and then got to the ones away from possibly someone next door that is state ranked, you see a difference. And I'm not ever going to complain about travel.
Not when it comes to playoffs.
Yeah.
And like you said, you couldn't ask for a better breakout because, as already noted, you could have a stacked regional versus a regional that's a cupcake, and then you're not necessarily having the 4 best teams.
Yeah, and the only people that are happy are the ones that get the cupcake one. and the other ones are all upset and are wanting this. And it's like whatever side you're on, the fairest way to do it is seeding it like a true regional or sectional and getting out of the way.
Yeah. Travel, I understand. Don't get me wrong. My bitch about travel is it's okay to do it in basketball here, where you could see Galena making 8 hours worth of travel in 1 week, but we can't do it in football. That's my complaint.
Right.
If it's okay for one sport, it should be okay for the other sports.
The comment was made at a football clinic one time by an IHSA official for football. And it was simply put that they are trying to get the best team to win 1A. Or, we were 1A. The best team to win in 1A, not the two best teams to play for a state title. And if that's your outlook, that's your outlook. At least you're able to say it, right? But in regional, when you have regional trophies and regional titles and sectional titles, the best way to do it is, I think, the way that they're doing it, which I applaud them for, because for so long they did geography, and you would see it, whether it be softball or whatever, that teams run regional after regional, and it's like the three best teams are in the West or the East, and the opposite don't get, and it's like, no, your four best teams should be your four best teams, 1 through 4, and then, seed it out, and it makes for better competition.
Totally agree. So,
anyways,
yeah, that puts a wrap on what we got this week. Obviously, we have basketball regional starting off. Lena Winslow Stockton team duels at state this week as well. So next week when we reconvene, it'll be with the boys regional champions, and hopefully we see a Lena Winslow Stockton state championship coming back to the NUIC. And before long, we're going to be jumping into spring sports here. But next week's podcast will be the boys regional championship coaches, and hopefully we get some good conversations there. We have a great opportunity to potentially see 4 teams make it into sectionals, which would be awesome if we had an NUIC invasion in Orion.
That'd be nice.
But get out to those games, root for your teams. This is a busy week this week. But as always, root for the NUIC. We'll see you next week.